All right, everybody, it is a nice quiet morning here at the strongest gym in southern Idaho. I've got a big old cup of coffee in the big time, and let's get to the training Q&A for this past week. These are right off of the X timeline, and I have not looked at the questions. I'm going to go through them one by one, and I am going to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, let's dive in. So, question numero uno from Half Nut at Half Nut. Does that mean you have a half of a nut? Who knows? Which are better for an athlete, front or back squats? Well, this is going to depend a lot on who you ask. If you're going to ask me, I'm going to say the back squat. Specifically because for most athletes, if you get them stronger, it is going to bring up all their other physical categories. And with a back squat, you can use, especially a low bar back squat, you can use more weight. You can involve more muscle mass through their effective range of motion. So you can get more bang for your buck under the bar with a back squat when it comes to acquiring strength adaptations. Now, I think there's some use cases for front squats. They really put some more load onto the quads, more into the glutes, force a little bit more of an upright torso angle. And after a while of getting really strong on back squats, it's okay to throw some front squats in there for that light day, just to work a little bit different of a movement pattern and get strong. But the crux of the argument is, I think that you are handicapping your strength potential by being like, oh, I'm an athlete, I'm only gonna front squat, because you can't use as much weight. So from a strength adaptation standpoint, you just don't get as strong. So the guy that works up, if you're talking to athletes, most athletes can get in that 400 to 500 pound squat range, especially as they get into like the college career. But you might kind of handicap your strength with a front squat. Okay, so it's not like a either or thing. That in fact I loathe these types of questions. Like, oh, should you? Yeah, actually, this is a perfect example of it. What's better, back squats or front squats? Well, man, they're fucking different. They're two completely different exercises. And it's okay, you should probably use one because that's the thing that you can lift the most weight with, which means from a strength perspective, that's awesome. But there's some other adaptations that front squats can be useful for. But there isn't a whole lot of carryover. Like if you get better at front squatting, your back squat's probably not gonna get that much better unless you're a novice. But if you have a strong as fuck back squat, your front squat's also gonna be pretty strong and you don't really have to train it, right? It's kind of like the power clean and the deadlift. So like you get your deadlift stronger and then you express the power, which is your strength, expressed quickly with the power clean. And it moves up along with your deadlift. And then there's some skill stuff involved there too that you get that helps in efficient form and stuff. So it's kind of one of those cases where the big lift is going to drive the smaller lift a little bit there, okay? I use front squats a lot with people, just like on a light squat day, to do something a little bit different adaptation. So, all right, we're the Rabbit City. God, I would not want to go to that place. But how would an adult program around coaching / participating in a winter wrestling program? Also preparing for that wrestling season so I don't get my ass kicked by a 9th grader. So, okay, like if you're coaching and participating in the wrestling program, like how taxing is that actually as a coach? I don't know anything about wrestling, to be honest. All I know is like in college when I would watch them do their thing, their practices looked like it fucking sucked. So, I mean, the only thing that you could really take into account is if this is like a regular yearly thing for you where you're gonna coach and you're going to like do a lot of participating, you need to train aggressively and treat it kind of as an in-season, off-season thing. So in season, if you're putting a bunch of training time and a bunch of resources into, coaching and you're wrestling with your guys and all that stuff, then maybe kind of go on a little bit more of a maintenance mode from a strength training perspective. Think of it in season. Keep the intensity high, dial the volume back because the recovery is going to be a little bit iffy. And then when the wrestling season is over, treat it as off season. And that's when you can put more resources into the training. And remember the whole training versus practice thing. We train for the adaptations we need. So if you don't want to get your ass kicked by a 9th grader, you should probably be strong. So you should train for strength. And then if you, also the second thing is if you don't want to get your ass kicked by a 9th grader, you should probably be good at wrestling, which I'm assuming you are if you're coaching, or at least at one point you were a good wrestler. You should practice wrestling to make sure that you have the skill base and build the skills to beat a 9th grader. So keep those two things separate. Don't try to do the same thing at once, right? Is there a more concrete formula for determining warm-up weights before squats and deadlifts? Yes, there is. In fact, I have a warm-up guide that I give to all of my coaching clients. For a while, with most people, I'll prescribe them, and then after a while, it kind of becomes a little bit more individual. Let's think about it like this, though. I don't remember the exact percentages in my head, but this is a really good structure for you to think of. If you're squatting, you're gonna have 2 to 3 empty bar sets of 5 to 10 reps. So you walk into the gym and you do a bunch of empty bar sets. And then after that, look to accumulate like 9 to 10 total reps of like ascending reps for your warm-ups going up to your working weights. Let's just say 315 is your working weight for a set of 5 on the squat, or yeah, let's just use squat for right now. You do the 2 to 3 warm-up sets with just the empty bar. You can even do a body weight one before that. And then you would do something like 135 for 5. If that feels like shit, sometimes you can do that again. But 135 for 5, there's 5 reps, okay? And then you can trickle up a little bit, you could go 185 or 225, maybe even 205. I like to just keep it simple with the plate math. So you go to 225, you do that for 3. Now you're at 8 reps. And then you have some choices here. You can do a set of 2 at like 275, and then that gets you to that 9 to 10 reps, and then you can get to your working weight. Or you can do a couple singles. So you could do like a 275 for one and a 295 for one, and then you get into your 315. Now the stronger you get, the more tailored you have to be with your warm-up weights. A lot of guys just kind of go by like simple plate stuff. So like if you're deadlifting 500 plus, it's really easy to just go like, hey, 135 for a set of 5 or 2, 225 for, a set of 3 to 5, 315 for a few, at 405 for a couple. And then if you want to bridge one, like 455 or something before you go to your 500-pound working weight, that's how you go. So there is some formula there, but I just like 9 to 10 ascending reps going up to your working weight, and you don't have to think about it very hard. The problem with doing percentages on warm-up weights is you'll have yourself like, you're gonna have like a 315 squat planned, and then you'll be doing the percentage. So like 90% of 315 is like 290. So then you're fucking putting on a bunch of little plates, and it's like, dude, just do like the big jumps. Do the big plate math jumps, do the 25s, right? And just keep your warm-up weights simple and get after those reps, okay? Barbell versus dumbbells. Okay, this is the next question here. Mihir Vaidya. Barbell versus dumbbells for beginner and intermediates. When to choose for what exercise? What the fuck do you think I'm gonna say? All right, TB. In your opinion, best overall exercises for hitting all muscle groups. Example, I want to do alternating days, light day, heavy day. Outside, utilizing bodyweight, sandbags, and kettlebells. The best overall exercises for hitting all muscle groups. I wonder what those could be. Squats, bench, deadlifts, press. This particular case, it sounds like you only have body weight, sandbags, kettlebells. Work on those full body movement patterns. Pressing, you could do push-ups. There is a way to press with your body weight. Looks like you have some kettlebells, so figure out a way to press with those. Deadlifts, that's gonna be kind of tough because kettlebells are very light, so you're not gonna get very strong with it. Sandbags, same thing. So you could get into a full body routine thinking like upper lower type situation with that. You need a lot of volume to stress yourself. But honestly, that's not really my cup of tea. I'm a barbell maxi. As you can see, all these fucking barbells back behind me. So I'm gonna move on to the next question. 2 in a row asking about like alternative training questions. We are the dogmatic barbell maxi crew here that wants to get everybody fat. Stop asking me about dumbbells. All right, B. Rarchi. I'm working 3x5s with back squat. I'm going up in weight 5 pounds and doing 1x5 at this top weight and then 2x5 at 95% the next 2 sets. The following week I'll do 3x5 at the top weight from the previous week. Then I'll go up 5 the best week and start over. That's okay. Okay, so you're working 3x5s in the back squat. I'm going up in weight 5 pounds. So, God damn it, I'm gonna have to write this out in crayon. And doing 1x5 at the top weight, then 2x5 at 5% the next 2 sets. Then the following week, I'll do 3x5 on the top weight from the previous week. Then I'll go up 5 and start over. That's honestly not a bad progression plan. The one thing that I would maybe do, I think the heavy set of 5 PR. So basically, you're doing a heavy set of 5. And then a couple back offs, and then the next week you're trying to do the heavy set of 5 you did the previous week, but for 3x5 across, and then you move up again. That makes sense. And the one thing that I might change is on those back off weights. Maybe, maybe dial those back a little bit. And the other thing that you could potentially do is just go ahead and progress the top set and the back offs instead of trying to hit the top set and then the next week hit it for 3 sets of 5 across. Just bleed up a heavy set of 5 in the back offs. And that'll give you a little bit more recovery time, because if you're like PRing your 1x5 and then the next week you're trying to do it for 3x5, you're gonna run into recovery issues quickly. And I think you would make better progress keeping your recovery in check with just the 1 set of 5 and the back offs and kind of bringing those both up at the same time. So that would be the direction I would go. The only other thing that is indicative here is that if you can PR your top set of 5 1 week, and then the next week you can do it for 3 sets of 5 across, it's probably not heavy enough at this stage. You shouldn't be able to get away with doing that for very long if that top set of 5 is more maximal. And then again, this is me not taking the rest of your programming into consideration. I have no idea what you're doing on like your lighter days or your deadlifts, right? So this is just kind of my 2 cents there. What are your dietary recommendations for a male during the NLP? Honestly, man, this is from Alan Wilkins, who just signed up for coaching. Captain Wilkins, even. So this depends a lot, and it could honestly be an entire video itself. The main thing, a couple main things that everybody needs to keep into consideration, no matter what you're doing. Whether you're trying to lose some body fat or recomposition while you're getting stronger, or you're trying to gain a bunch of muscular body weight, the number one most important thing is protein. And I'm not just gonna say protein independently, because protein, you can eat like 200 grams of protein, but not have adequate calories and not make any fucking progress. So protein and adequate calories based on what your individual goal is. So for the guy that wants to recomp, we want to and get strong at the same time. This is a really good spot for a novice. Adequate protein adequate calories with a slight deficit. And that deficit can be created by eating a little bit less food. It can also be created with more movement. The whole step count thing, the whole 2 to 3 times a week, 30 to 60 minutes of, steady state cardio can help create that deficit. And honestly, you can do it you can do that solely by going into the gym and training 3 times a week and then doing nothing else physically active by controlling your calories and stuff. But I find it better, like we all sit on our desks with our computers in front of our face all day. Like get off your ass and go do some stuff, right? Go get active, go take a hike. But protein, adequate calories for what your goal is. So again, if you're trying to aggressively gain muscular body weight because you're a novice and you can, don't try to do a 200 calorie surplus or a 300 calorie surplus. Oh, I'm gonna bleed bulk. Well, bullshit. This is your one shot as a new lifter to get strong and build a whole bunch of muscle mass because you're a novice. Get yourself into that 500, 1,000 plus calorie surplus and make it no fucking doubt that you are eating enough and you're eating adequately. There should not be a doubt in your mind if you're doing this properly, and you will take your NLP so much farther if you do that, and you'll take your intermediate training so much farther if you do that. So those are kind of the 2 main principles. There's some other stuff that we do there too. Like I personally, if somebody's trying to recomp, do more carbohydrates around the training sessions and then limit them outside of it. That way you're fueled up and ready to rock for your training sessions, but you're not eating a giant bowl of meaty pasta on non-training days when you don't need it, okay? So those are my 2 main recommendations, and how you're going to do that is a very case-by-case individual basis, but you should be leaving no question that you have enough protein and adequate calories based on what your goal is, and not being too aggressive either way. Can you provide your opinion on where below average, and average male and female trainees should be at by the time they end their linear progression? Can you provide your opinion on where below average, and average male and female? I'm not gonna go, I think that I'm gonna ignore the whole below average, and average male thing. You should get on your NLP, most people will get like 3 to 6 months of pretty steady progress on it before shit really needs to start getting changed. And if you're running the NLP for longer than that, you're probably messing something up, okay? You weren't aggressive enough. But the hard part about saying is like, I have to be really careful with this, I think, because a lot of people will have in their brain, like, I'm doing the NLP to get to the standards 1.0. So I should be able to take my NLP from nothing to a 135 press, 225 bench, 315 squat, 405 deadlift. And then when I hit those numbers, I'm an intermediate, and that's not the case. But most people end their NLP, most men of average men, not like athletes, not with like training history, the super freaks, like the normal Joe Blow is gonna end his NLP on his bench somewhere around the 200 mark, somewhere in the 135, probably less than that, depending on how much weight they gain. The below like 115 to 135 press. You're looking at a 275 to 315 squat is most of the time where you'll end up at it. And then 315, 365 on the deadlift, maybe less. So the NLP, the sole purpose of that is for you to take advantage of the novice effect. And you go through that process. And when you get to the point that you can no longer recover session by session, and then when we add those light days in, when you can no longer recover with that structure, that's when you move on. Some guys in their NLP, like I got a kid here, he's in the gym, he's 19. He's NLP'd his squats 5 pounds at a time from 275 all the way to 405 by 5 by 3. That is not normal. But most of the guys that come in and train, or the guys that I work with online, they're gonna end their NLP a lot sooner. And one of the biggest mistakes is trying to drag their NLP out longer instead of just getting into a sustainable intermediate approach. So you hit the end part where you can't recover. Maybe you do a reset, you run it back up again, you hit that wall, and before you hit that wall, preferably you switch into something more sustainable. So there's no like set numbers, it's more of a timing thing. And everybody is gonna hit that at a different, everybody's gonna hit the end of that at a different time. And you cannot, as a lifter, get some numbers in your head like, I have to hit the standards 1.0 with my starting strength novice linear progression. And then once I hit those numbers, I'm an intermediate. Because you might hit those fucking numbers on your NLP and then keep going. But if you switch to intermediate training, then you slow down your progression prematurely. And we don't want to be premature about anything now, do we? So, hopefully that clarifies. This is actually perfect because Grant Stein's next question here is, what milestones separate an intermediate from an advanced lifter, and what are the key differences in their programming? This is a great targeted question. The difference between an intermediate and advanced, and I'm going to throw novice in here just to answer it. The novice lifter, by our definition, it's not by how much you lift. It is your ability to adapt and recover from the training stress. So for a novice, that's 48 to 72 hours. That's what the NLP is for. You can recover between sessions. Once you're in an intermediate stage, this is what I would consider it, you can recover and you have to accumulate the stress over the course of a week. Now, that is the intermediate stage. It's not some numbers in your head. You're not an intermediate because you hit the standards. You might be an intermediate with a fucking 205 squat just because of your ability to recover, depending on how old you are and where you come from. An advanced lifter is going to require multiple weeks or a month, maybe 2 months. And the really advanced lifters, you might have to be periodizing your training over the course of 3 months to hit PRs. So your ability to adapt to the stress and accumulate that stress is over a month plus time frame. So from a training perspective, the novice can add weight every single session. The intermediate can add weight to their PRs every week or two. And then the advanced lifter, you have to accumulate the stress over the course of a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months. And that's how you create that overload. So you're going to think a lot of periodization. So like an intermediate might start like doing weekly rep cycles. So, or maybe even doing like alternating weeks, or an intermediate might start doing, some more accessory type things. Like they might be doing rack pulls so they can load more heavily. And then an advanced lifter, you might have to think about this as like, I'm going to spend a month working up my 5s. I'm going to spend the next month working up my 3s, the next month working up my 1s, maybe on like 4-week cycles, and then kind of restart. An intermediate, you might just be looking to set a 5-rep PR, like B. Ricci back here in the comments when he was talking about the top set and back off. Like that's a very that's an NLP late novice, early intermediate technique of like looking to set a 5-rep PR weekly, right? An intermediate might too be able to cycle and hit PRs on like a 5-3-1 basis too. So it's just a longer time frame, and more so even the approach, you're looking at accumulating the stress over the course of a week. So when you're looking at it as an intermediate, you're like, okay, this week's training, that accumulates the stress that I recover from. The novice, each session is on a little bit higher pedestal. You have to force that adaptation, force that stress, so then you can recover from it session by session. And then from an advanced lifter, you're looking at it like, this next 3 months of training is going to accumulate for me to hopefully hit like a 5-pound or a 10-pound PR on one of my lifts. Once you become an advanced lifter, it's very difficult to progress all 4 of your lifts at once. You're gonna be looking at like, I'm gonna do a deadlift focus block and I'm just gonna try to maintain my squat. That's typically the way that goes, okay? So those are kind of the key differences there. It's less, it's not about what numbers you're at. It's about how you can adapt to your stress, okay? So this was a quite good flood of questions, and I will be popping it up onto YouTube. And if you have any more specific questions or you're completely messing your training up, please reach out to me. You can book a free consult in my bio. You can download all of my free training sources in my link tree on my X profile. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and my newsletter so you can get updated on this. Or I have some programming templates for sale now. Buy one of those, try it, run it, make some gains, fuck it up, and then reach back out to me. So I appreciate you guys. I will chat with you next week during the Q&A with a big cup of coffee in the big time. I'm out.